Our coverage on the Ukraine crisis continues. US President Joe Biden says he would impose sanctions on the company in charge of building Russia's Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline. The sanctions target the Nord Stream 2 Public Limited Company and its corporate officers. The pipeline has been completed and was built to double the gas flow capacity from Russia to Germany, but it has yet to be put into operation. Gao Songya tells us more about the project.
Nord Stream 2 is a 1,200-kilometer pipeline exporting gas directly from Russia to Germany. Finished in last September, the pipeline could pump out 55 billion cubic meters of natural gas every year. This will, according to the Russian president,
bring cheap gas to German and other European consumers, ensure the bloc's energy security, just like its predecessor, Nord Stream.
But unlike the existing Nord Stream system, Nord Stream 2 has bypassed a long-time transit land, Ukraine. That's why the Ukrainian president has been seeking support from the West in keeping his country as an energy link between Europe and Russia.
We have certain disagreements in our assessments of Nord Stream 2. It is important that Germany becomes a guarantor of continued gas transit through Ukraine.
Nord Stream 2 is also having a hard time getting approved for operation by European regulators. In 2020, natural gas from Russia accounted for 43% of total gas imports to Europe. Some lawmakers worry Russia expanding its economic and political influence over Europe through the pipeline. The United States, as a major rival to Russia, shares these concerns. Washington already threatened to sanction Nord Stream 2's contractors and investors in 2019, which had caused a suspension in pipelay. With Russia-Ukraine tensions escalating in recent weeks, Nord Stream 2 naturally became a bargaining chip for the White House.
If Russia invades, that means tanks of troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2.
Meanwhile, with European countries suffering from energy supply shocks, the standstill of Nord Stream 2 has largely benefited American energy companies. On February 12th, 7 liquefied natural gas export terminals in the U.S. saw a record 13.3 billion cubic feet of natural gas inflow. Bloomberg estimated more than two-thirds of those LNG cargoes are headed to Europe.
China has called for dialogue to resolve the crisis over Ukraine. A Chinese foreign ministry spokesperson said history had proved that sanctions don't work and that negotiations would be more effective.
Data released by the U.S. Treasury Department showed over past 20 years, the number of U.S.-imposed sanctions jumped tenfold than before. The previous U.S. administration imposed as many as 3,800 sanctions, which means wielding the stick of sanctions 3 times per day on average. Since 2011, the U.S. has imposed over 100 sanctions on Russia. However, have such sanctions really worked? Is the world better because of the U.S. sanctions? Will the Ukraine issue be resolved naturally, and will the European countries feel more secured because of U.S. sanctions on Russia? Our position is that sanctions are never fundamentally effective means to solve problems. We consistently oppose all illegal unilateral sanctions. We hope relevant sides would give this some serious thought and strive to resolve issues through dialogue and consultation.
For more insight, let's talk to Mr. Einar Tangen. Mr. Tangen, let's talk a little bit more about the economic impacts on Ukraine and Europe as a whole. How damaging is the indefinite suspension of Nord Stream 2 for Germany and even for Europe?
Well, it's very damaging. It's going to be paid out in terms of dollars, and those dollars are going to be going to the United States, which is going to be profiting from its ability to send liquefied natural gas to Europe. This sets up a little bit of a tension because, obviously any kind of interruption of energy flows from Russia benefits the United States.
So, do you think Europe can cope with this energy crisis at the moment? Because we heard from about 2 weeks ago that Germany's natural gas reserves were running quite low.
No, they can't. This is not something they can handle. You're going to see prices go up dramatically. There is really no way of replacing it. 3 days ago, you had a meeting of the LNG producers led by Qatar, and they just said simply, there is no rationale and not enough time to increase. This is not a situation where you turn on the spigot and gas pours out. In order to address this, you have to create LNG facilities. They cost tens of billions of dollars, and they take from 2 to 4 years to build. So at this juncture, this is going to be a long-term situation. In addition to that, you have to start looking at food. Obviously, Ukraine and Russia, 1/4 of the world's wheat is produced there and exported. That is going to hit hard, not only in Europe, but around the world, especially developing countries who are already on their back foot because of COVID. Then you get into the supply chain disruptions that will be caused by this, further sanctions. This is not going to help inflation. And at some point, people are going to have to realize that there has to be a diplomatic solution after it's clear what Putin has done with his boots on the ground.